Aita for leaving my sister's wedding early. I, female 28, and my husband, male 28, live 1,000 kilometers north of both of our families. My sister, female 26, let's call her Kay, got engaged at Christmas to a really wonderful guy and planned their wedding for March 30th, 3-month-long engagement. I should mention that Kay does not have children. Kay also planned to have a child-free wedding. In Kay's words, she wanted her friends to have a fun night off, and kids totally changed the vibe. When Kay told me that my 11-month-old son would not be able to attend her wedding, I told her it would be very difficult for us to attend or stay for long. Since we don't have family around us to help us with our son, he's not used to anyone but us taking care of him. Our son has only met his extended family a handful of times and is not very comfortable with them either. He's also still breastfed, does not take a pacifier or bottle. Kay was unwilling to make an exception for our son to attend even just the reception. A month before Kia's wedding, my parents came to visit and we did a trial run of them looking after our son. He was okay for 1 hour, so I told that's probably how long we would be able to stay if he wasn't able to be there. She still did not offer an exception for him. Knowing that I would probably only be able to be at my sister's wedding for an hour, we drove 8 hours to attend anyways. It was really important to me to be there. Family was coming from overseas, and it would probably be the only time our son would meet that side of the family, and we could all be together. We arranged for my husband's brother to look after our son, even though our son doesn't know him well, at the hotel that was a 10-minute walk from the wedding venue. I told that we would check on our son after the ceremony, and if things were going well, we'd come back. Things were not going well when we went to check. Our son was beside himself. My husband and I ended up staying at the hotel with our son, missing the speeches while only a 10-minute walk away. I was devastated to miss my parents' speeches. I helped my dad write his, and to not hear from the groom's family. But I didn't want to ruin her wedding by disrespecting her wishes and bringing our son to the reception. The next day, my family had planned to have Easter dinner at my parents' house. We got there first, and when my parents got there, they were very mad at me. They told me that Kay would not be coming because she is so hurt by my leaving early. They said she had been crying all morning, felt I was unsupportive, and that I should have been able to do something to come back. Kay told my parents that she couldn't face me or bear to be in the same room as me indefinitely and would not be coming to Easter dinner. Kay won't accept my calls or answer my texts. I understand why Kay is upset, but I told her at least 3 times prior to the wedding what I thought was feasible for us and our son. I feel I did the absolute best I could in an impossible situation that Kay created by not making an exception for her nephew. Am I the a-hole? Why didn't you just go to the wedding on your own and have your husband stay in the hotel with the baby? For your baby's own well-being, you need to work on this. It just seems like you were trying to make this happen so you could be like, see, I told you my baby needed to be at the wedding. Struggling with current wife's attitude towards my child, 2 years from previous marriage? Hello everyone. I find myself in a rather complicated situation and would appreciate some insights or advice. I've been married for a year now and have a wonderful 2-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. My current wife and I also have 2 daughters together. The issue is that my wife is extremely negative towards my first daughter, even saying things like hopefully your child gets cancer and that my child should be thrown in the trash. These statements are heartbreaking and utterly unacceptable to me. The root of this hostility seems to be my wife's perception that I favor my ex, which is not the case. My only intention is to maintain a peaceful co-parenting relationship for the well-being of my daughter. However, my wife interprets this as me still having feelings for my ex, especially because I want to say in decisions affecting my daughter, like not wanting unnecessary conflicts with my ex. A recent conflict arose over a stroller I bought for my first daughter. Since we decided to remodel our home, leading to budget constraints, I suggested we use what we already had for our new daughter. My wife viewed this as favoritism towards my first child and accused me of being unfair, despite the fact that I purchased the stroller long before my current wife and I were together. My wife now says I praise my ex too much and has even suggested she might be better off with another man. I'm seeking advice on how to navigate this painful and complex situation. By the way, I see my first daughter just 24-48 hours a week. She lives with her mom and I pick her up every weekend. An update after receiving thousands of messages. The lady claims that she had to pack her things because of my ex, stating that everything was ruined by my ex. She accuses me of always defending my ex and sees my daughter as a ticket back to my ex, criticizing me for saying I do this and that for my daughter. She says I keep defending my ex and that she never wants to see my child again. This is because I once mentioned that my ex was good to me in some aspects and has supported me in certain situations. Also, when I pick up my child or my daughter is dropped off, it happens at the corner of the street. She claims this is a planned meetup between my ex and me. Married 1 year with a 2-year-old from an ex while having 2 kids with current wife? The timing seems off. I hope your daughter gets cancer is a vile thing to say, and the only acceptable response is to hope she finds a decent lawyer. Your poor daughter deserves better, and you need to take responsibility for your children and get your priorities straight. Am I the antagonist for not letting my kids use the bathroom and leaving Easter early? I had a baby the week before Easter. The plan has been to go to my in-laws. We live 30 minutes away from them. They have a large family but a small house with only 2 bathrooms. My father-in-law found 5 feral kittens, brought them home, and put them in the second bathroom. The kittens were not friendly, covered in fleas, and the room was covered in urine and feces. But we were still expected to use that bathroom, specifically the kids. I was in a room nursing when my daughter, Ella, came in, crying because my mother-in-law forced her to go into the cat bathroom, and it stunk so bad she ran out to find me. I put my newborn in my wearer and escorted her to the normal bathroom. My mother-in-law saw me waiting by the door and told me, "Take Ella to the other bathroom. This one is for adults." I responded that I wouldn't, and because of my newborn, my kids were not allowed to use the cat bathroom. I did not want my older ones getting litter, fecal matter, or fleas on their clothes and bringing it around the newborn. She tried to argue that wouldn't happen, but I insisted my kids were not allowed to use that bathroom. When my husband got back from the park with my 2 other kids and cousins' aunts uncles, I told him about not letting our kids in the cat bathroom. He took over bathroom duties and made sure our kids stayed out of that room despite pressure and complaints of my kids using the adult bathroom. When it came time to eat, I was in the middle of nursing. My husband offered to make me a plate, but I told him to feed himself quickly so I could give him the baby while I made my plate and ate. About 25-30 minutes later, I hand off the baby and go to make my plate to find hardly anything left. Some ham fat and the deviled eggs, veggie tray I brought. I just got my baby, went to a room, then called my mom in tears. My husband came to find me a few minutes later and asked what was wrong. I told him there wasn't any food for me. He was confused, stated there was tons, and went to the kitchen. He came back saying his mom thought I had eaten and had packed everything up and he could warm me up a plate. I couldn't help but feel like my mother-in-law did this on purpose because of the bathroom situation. Who packs up dinner that fast? I told him not to bother, that I wanted to go home. He didn't understand why I was upset, wouldn't let him make me a plate. I didn't tell him my theory, which is where I might be the antagonist. We fought a bit. Don't be too hard on him. We were both sleep-deprived and high emotions because of the newborn. Then went home. My favorite sister-in-law has told me that my mother-in-law is bad, mouthing me about not following the bathroom rules, not eating her food, and making my family leave early. She is calling me stuck-up and a drama queen. I felt justified in my choices, but maybe I'm wrong. Am I the antagonist? Not the antagonist. Your mother-in-law's behavior is completely inappropriate. It's time for your husband to step in and stand up for you, as well as establish new holiday traditions with your family. No one should be forced to use a dirty bathroom, and your mother-in-law's negative remarks should not be tolerated. Stand your ground and prioritize your own well-being and that of your children. Am I the antagonist for abandoning my 2 disabled parents? My father has been paraplegic for 14 years after he got in a traffic accident. As my brother, 28 years old, and I, 23 years old, were children at the time, my mother took the role as his carekeeper for years. This raised a lot of fights and tension between them, causing on their divorce 3 years ago after my mother had been having an affair for 4 years. Due to these confrontations and tensions, living in the house was a nightmare, hearing them fight for years and being put in the middle by them, facing manipulations and lies from both ends to be on their side. My brother flew away as soon as he could to work on an island 500 kilometers away from them, but I could not run away since I was in my last year of college and didn't have a job. Shortly after their divorce, my mother suffered an optic neuritis which left her blind and made her more emotionally vulnerable, so I had to take care of her along with my grandmother. Later on, she brought to live in her home her boyfriend, the man with whom she cheated on my disabled father after years of swearing. My dad was just crazily jealous and making things up, expecting me to treat him like my new dad. On the other hand, my dad, who called me out for leaving him alone because I went to university classes and spent time with my recently blind mother, brought to his home a woman he met on Tinder with her 2 kids to live in our house because he said he felt lonely, without consulting me. I ended up having 2 houses but not feeling like home in either of them, while having to still play the mediator between them too, using me as a messenger instead of talking with each other like grown-ups. I would sit in the car after being in the library for hours not knowing where to go. I was financially dependent on them as I just graduated college and was not able to find a job in my town after months applying to every offer available, being trapped under my parents' roof. In desperation, I asked my brother if I could move in with him, and without telling my parents, I applied and got selected in a job and accepted in a master's degree. I wanted to pursue work in the field of my degree in my brother's city, and only told both of them the same day. I flew to the island. I have not asked them for money once and was able to maintain myself. I do have regrets, feeling bad for leaving my parents alone since they are not regular people that can live on their own. But I would have not done it if I didn't know they had someone to look after them. But still feel bad when they often call me crying about how much they miss me. I think I should not have been that selfish, but was I supposed to pause my life for them? If I did not think about me, no one else would have done it. Your parents have been awful to each other and even worse to you by subjecting you to their crap, putting you in the middle. They've treated you poorly despite their disabilities. You pursued a life of your own and have every right to do so. Live your life without their guilt, follow your dreams, and focus on your independence as an adult. They have each other and you deserve to enjoy your own future. How do I not hold a grudge against my in-laws for selling the house we rent from them while 8 months pregnant? In-laws are selling the house we rent from them while I am preparing to give birth in May. How do I not hold on to resentment when I feel so blindsided? My husband, 31st male, and I have been renting an 80s double-wide from my in-laws since 2021. Because of the state of the home and because my husband is in medical school, we've been extremely fortunate to be charged very low rent for this home. The first year we paid $400 a month in rent while I worked on home improvements, ripping out blue carpet, installing new flooring, putting in sprinkler systems, building a deck, tiling, redoing kitchen cabinets and countertops. We agreed to raise the rent to $500 in 2022 because they had to replace the air conditioning unit after it died. We've made many improvements to this home, in part because we could afford to due to the low rent. As a side note, my income fully supports our family while my husband is in medical school. He takes out student loans for his tuition and gas money, and I pay for our car insurance, car loans, rent, groceries, etc. My husband is currently finishing up his 3rd year of medical school and will be taking his comprehensive osteopathic medical licensing examination, COMLEX, Level 2, this July. We will be relocating summer of 2025 to whatever residency program he's accepted into. Because we will most likely be moving states away from family in 2025, we decided that we wanted to try for a kid while being local to our familial support. This will be the first grandchild for both sides of our families. She's due at the end of May. Situation: my father-in-law recently found a buyer who was interested in the property we live on, 16 acres, 80s double-wide and mother-in-law suite, who has accepted his price of $700K. We were told yesterday that they will be working on writing up a contract in the next week. Per our state's laws, we have a 90 days from written notice to move. My husband and I are planning to relocate to my hometown 2 hours away from our current location so that I can spend quality time with my dad and siblings and have the support of my friend group before we move for residency. However, I can't help but feel really upset about this whole situation, and I'm having a hard time wanting to continue a relationship with my in-laws. I don't want to feel entitled, especially because we've been the beneficiaries of extremely low rent over the past few years, regardless of the effort we've put into improving this house. I don't think I would feel as personally affronted if this was a normal landlord-tenant relationship. Instead, I feel like my in-laws are choosing profit over a good relationship with my husband, myself, and our child. We've been extremely vocal about our timeline and, quite frankly, the stress of 1, giving birth and becoming a new mom, 2, having to move, and 3, my husband's level 2 exam all happening within the same 3 months is extremely overwhelming. I don't want to be petty or vindictive, but I'm having such a hard time not reacting emotionally. How do I deal with this situation with grace, without harming a relationship with my in-laws? Not sure what advice to give about the in-laws. People suck at communicating and love avoiding conflict. So they just went ahead and avoided communicating and as much conflict as possible by telling you once it's all done. Rude, but within their rights. My advice to anyone renting though, no matter who you're renting from, don't put money into a home you don't own. No offense, but that wasn't a very smart move regardless of whether you knew about them selling or not. Why put money into someone else's home? It doesn't make sense. This is a learning experience. If you find yourself receiving something very cheap, realize that there's always a cost. Not having a lease means that this could have happened at any time. You should have insisted on a written lease with them, and you should have saved all of your extra money instead of spending it to renovate a place you didn't own. Am I the antagonist for, apparently, ruining my cousin's wedding? My cousin, 28 years old, and I, 26 years old, are incredibly close, practically like sisters. We've shared everything from childhood memories to discussing our love lives. I've always been there for her, offering a shoulder to cry on whenever a guy broke her heart. She is getting married this December. In my country, everyone pays for their own seat at the table. I've been in a committed relationship with my boyfriend for 4 years, and we're eagerly planning our own future together, including getting married after we finish our theses. Despite our close bond, my cousin has never met my boyfriend in person, only through video calls. I've extended invitations for her to visit and meet him numerous times, but due to her busy schedule, she's never been able to make it. Conversely, I've made the effort to travel to her city and meet her boyfriend. We were eagerly anticipating the moment when they would finally meet at her wedding, and we had even discussed it during our last conversation. We had dreams of traveling the world together, making plans, and continuing to be the inseparable duo, now 4, we've always been. However, my excitement was abruptly shattered when my mom received a call from my aunt, my cousin's mom, delivering unexpected news. They had decided not to invite significant others of family members to the wedding due to budget constraints, while still allowing the partners of her friends to attend. This decision felt like a slap in the face, particularly after all the anticipation we had shared about her and her partner finally meeting mine at her wedding. I couldn't shake the feeling that this decision was made to avoid upsetting her friends, some of whom had let her down multiple times in the past, and that they'd take me for granted. The news left me feeling devastated. It wasn't just about not being invited anymore. It felt like I had lost a piece of my family. All the plans we had made together suddenly evaporated. While my boyfriend wasn't angry, he understandably questioned the value of investing in future vacations with someone who hadn't even invited him to their wedding. Additionally, it hurt even more that my cousin didn't have the courage to tell me herself. Instead, she had her mom relay the message through mine. When I expressed my disappointment, some family members, particularly uncles and aunts, accused me of ruining my cousin's wedding day by speaking up. They argued that it was her day and she had the right to do as she pleased. However, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. While I understood weddings are expensive, my boyfriend had even offered to pay for his seat, as is customary in our country. So, am I the antagonist for speaking up? I would recommend reaching out directly to your cousin to clarify the situation and potentially make a compromise with her regarding your boyfriend's attendance at the wedding. Ultimately, it is your cousin's decision on who to invite, but it is fair to ask for confirmation from her directly rather than relying on information from her mom. If your boyfriend cannot attend, it is within your right to decline the invitation without being viewed as unreasonable. Have a conversation with your cousin to ensure open communication and avoid any misunderstandings. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.